Hey everyone, good evening. How's everyone doing? Paul here, and my dad Edwin's going to be joining me in just a minute here. We're just getting settled in for our meeting. He had to just drive down from his place, and we're excited this evening. Hey, good to see all of you on here. Ellen, Tina, Michael, Melissa, Deb, Gwen, lots of seed timers. Is that what we're going to call ourselves? Seed timers. I know we've got a lot of people from Seedtime. Some of our previous Born to Grow members are probably on here as well, who have been grandfathered into Seedtime. We've got an exciting update for you, and let me know if you can see and hear and if everything is working well. Just as we begin the evening out, I want to just do little bit of housekeeping and make sure that everything is working smoothly. So let me know in the chat if you can see and hear us. Sounds good. Fantastic. All clear? Good. Fantastic. Excellent. So this evening, we are going to be talking about some pretty cool updates. Number one is a Seedtime update, which is, what's going on right now? What is the current plan? What's the development plan? How are we going to get to our roadmap and all of that great stuff? And then we're also going to give a Seedtime training. So for those of you who may be interested in just like a step-by-step walkthrough, we do have a knowledge base, although there have been updates since there's been updates to the app that have not been entered into the knowledge base yet. So that's not fully up to date. We'll be working on that a bit more. But we want to give you all a quick training of how Seedtime works and how you can be using it for your garden. So quick poll at the beginning here as we wait for my dad. Quick question here is, how many of you have set up your garden plan in Seedtime yet? Yes, started to, and not yet. So I just want to get a quick idea of how many of you have already jumped in the app. You've got your plan set up. You've started to. You haven't done it yet. This gives us an idea of kind of where all of you all are at in the process of planning your garden. By the way, so I want to also make the note here at the very beginning that Seedtime is still at its very infancy. So I know many of you supported us on the Kickstarter, and for that, we just want to give you an extreme thank you all over again before, but just an extreme thank you. Your support means a lot, and it's going to help us to do a lot that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to do as quickly, right? Because Seedtime is a growth and process. So we are still at its very infant stages. And so we just really appreciate your patience as we go through this growth process. For us, it's growth in multiple ways. It's growth in the business as a whole. We're having to pull on more people and more team. And hey, Dad, awesome. Come join. So we've got a fantastic group on here already. Looks like over 100 people are on. We're excited. So I was just giving them a quick little overview about the evening and what we're going to be talking about, and thanking them for supporting us, and also thanking them for their patience because we're at its real infancy stages, right? So we're really excited for your support. And I did this quick poll, and it looks like about a quarter of you have planned your garden already. About 38% started to, and about 36 haven't jumped in yet. So very good. Very good. That's a good mix across the spectrum, and we hope to get all of you even more excited about it than you already are. And then especially for those of you who haven't planned your garden yet or just started to, we're going to be doing that in that step-by-step training, walking you through it. So don't want to take up too much more time. anything to add that you think we should add in just at the beginning before we jump into the update?
No.
All right, so it looks like we have an awesome group in here already. We've had a few minutes to allow people to jump into the room. One last thing before we pull up the update, and that is, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Just make sure to mark them as a question. There's a little circle there. You click on it, it turns red with a little Q, and we'll answer some questions at the end. We may not be able to answer everyone's question, but we're here for you. So, all right, very good. Ready? Drum roll. You excited? Let's talk about our Seedtime update. I'm going to pull up some slides. Didn't have a lot of time to make anything super fancy, but we've got some slides here. And we'll walk through this together. All right. Hold on one second. Here we go. Seedtime update and training. Boom. Can you all see our slides there? Okay. Seedtime update and training. So first of all, let's just talk real quick about what's happening now. Seedtime plans. How are we going about this, and what's happening right now? So right now, like literally starting today, of some ongoing team meetings, and these team meetings, we're specifically like clarifying our vision, right? So Seedtime has grown extremely quickly with the fund from Kickstarter, from all your support, right? So we have a fantastic user base with you, and we decided that, you know, to take Seedtime to the next level, because we've had a lot of ideas come in since when we launched of things that we could do.
Yeah, we've really appreciated the feedback we've gotten from you, and you know, some of it was ideas we already had, but there was a significant amount of new ideas that we thought were really good.
Yeah.
And
so we took a risk by allowing you into our pilot program, right? Because we took a risk. We took a risk of frustrating some of you, because Seedtime, being that it's at such an infant stage, there are things you still can't do, and it can be frustrating to wait for new features to be built, and it's not what you maybe dreamed of, from. But there are some huge perks.
We're still dreaming too.
Yeah, there's some huge perks, and we solidly believe we made the right decision to let you in when we did, because you are the app. And Jessica, you have it absolutely right. You are able to, with your feedback, we are taking that, and it is molding the roadmap that we are going to.
I would say we love that you are helping us shape the app.
Yes.
For us, that's really big.
Yeah, it's huge, because otherwise, we could make an app that we think people want, but it's going to be much more helpful to you if we make it based on what you want. And so we're blending those, and we're going to create something great. But with that, we've got to step back, and we've got to clarify our vision here, and just make sure that we hone in down on our vision, and we stay on track, and that every new thing and idea that comes fits that vision, right? So we're going to be clarifying all of that and creating a roadmap. We haven't gone through the in-depth process of this yet. We're just starting it as a management team here, and we're excited to do that. So what's happening now? Some of you may be wondering what's happening like with the development of the app.
Going to talk about who the team is.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about real quick about the team, and it ties into the development here. So right now, obviously, it's us, right? My dad, Edwin, myself, my wife, Natasha, my mom, Jennifer, our integral inputs as well to our team. we just brought on my wife's brother, Joshua Neblett. We're super excited to have him on. He's coming on as our CFO. He's going to be our excellent finance guy, but much, much more than that in general business management. And we have Hannah Rain, who was on the Kickstarter there, listed as our team, and she has been doing some part-time work with our customer support, but she's coming on in full-time in June, so that's really exciting. We're going to have we aim to have the best customer support in the entire industry. So talk about like fast responses and being able to answer your questions quickly. And then with development, Thomas has been working on our development so far, and that comes into talking about our current developers. Right now we have Thomas, and we've had another freelancer, Sumit, who has been working on our development at the moment. But because of the fast trajectory of Seedtime, we are needing to transition our development, right? So we are in that process at the moment of working out that transition to an actual development company that will be able to handle the project on a larger scale. So, by the way, coming up next, for those of you who are interested in what's being worked on currently, is we are working on setting up those weekly checklists. I know that was a big thing for everyone, for a lot of you, wanting the ability to be able to mark a task as finished and see 1 week at a time and have a weekly checklist and have them visually see what needs to be done and what's already been done, etc. So that is hot in the process of being developed out. So that's something you can look forward to very soon. But like I said, we are in the process of transition. Yeah, checklists are super exciting. Can't wait. Like I said, we're in the process of transition. We are moving for multiple reasons, one of which Thomas has done a spectacular job with the development so far, but he also has other things on his plate coming up. Like, for example, he is needing to write a dissertation, and there's other projects and stuff. So, and with the whole project growing to the size that it is, we needed to make a transition to a development firm. And then, as our company grows, we will probably end up with more in-house developers as well. So we are excited to announce, and do any of you want to sneak peek at who we're going to end up working with? It's kind of exciting. We're excited about it, at least. And by the way, please, we appreciate, especially right now, your patience during this transition, because you're going to notice a bit of a lull or a slowdown. Right when it first launched, there was multiple features that were being built out pretty quickly. But as we transition to a larger development firm, it's going to take some time, and we want to make sure that that's a smooth transition, and we don't want to do too much more big development features ahead of making that transition, so that they are able to have input on those features and how they are built out as well. So how many of you have heard of Calendly? Calendly is a calendar scheduling app that is very big and very popular, that makes it really easy to schedule tasks between people. So you can list the times that you're available, and you can send people a link, and people can easily schedule an appointment with you, right? So, all right. Nope. All right. There's quite a few of you that have not heard of Calendly. Yep, Calendly. So it's kind of a mix. I have. No. All right. Yeah. So there's a mix there. Nope. No worries. Calendly is like I said, a big software, and we are excited to be working with the development firm who built Calendly. Their name is Railsware, and there was multiple reasons why we decided to go with them. I'll share with them just a very brief overview of why we decided to go with them. There was multiple considerations on the table. One is their track record with big feature apps like Calendly, which has over 8 million monthly users. So it's pretty big. We wanted to be able to make sure that we could scale this up to whatever size needed. I mean, we obviously don't know where or how large it's going to go. The second was they have a real in-depth experience with building apps from conception to launch. And they not only have that experience, but they have their own apps that they market themselves. So they're not just an app company, but they're also a business consulting company, right? And the other thing that they have to bring to the table as well is that they have a very intense inception process, which is walking through and building out a roadmap in a way that will save us down the road a lot because we'll be able to identify from the very beginning risks and challenges that we could be facing with the development of the app going down into the future. So that's a very quick overview of some of the reasons. Pricing, price points was in there as well, and all kinds of stuff. But that is who we are going to be going with. Here is Calendly's website. They also, Bright Bytes is another, Microsoft actually hired some of the team from Bright Bytes. So that's another one that they built out. So anyways, enough of the development there. And like I said, by the way, so they will be transitioning on in June as the current plan. And thanks for your patience as we go over that transition. All right, so now let's talk about an inside peek. Are you ready for this? Yeah. This is something we're going to kind of go out on the edge of our seat a little bit, I feel like. If you're interested, how many of you would like an inside peek at some of the ideas that we have down the pipeline, right? So on the Kickstarter, obviously it was centered around the calendar app. And then we had stretch goals for like including weather data, right? And then including a garden layout planner, etc., right? So as we've been thinking about it, things have gelled more, and we've let me see, what do I have here? Yeah, we've been talking about what is our why are we doing this? What are we doing? How are we doing it? And we've got some ideas that we're going to share with you, and we just want to share these in the context of these are ideas. These are concepts right now. We'd love to get your feedback on them. They're not set in stone. This isn't exactly what we're going to be doing, but it's something to get excited about, right? And I think that this is looking like the direction that we're probably moving towards.
Now, these are concepts that we'll be bringing up with the developer and presenting to them is what we're interested in.
Yeah, as we go through that process, right? Yep. All right. So first of all, just today we were talking more about what is our why, and what is our what are we doing, and how are we doing it, right? So first of all, our why is basically to make gardening and farming easier for you. Right? So this is the purpose behind our company, Seedtime. We want to make gardening and farming easier. What we are doing is we are equipping you to easily organize, manage, and grow fruitful gardens and farms. That is, our what. And then how, frankly, we have so many ideas. We have so many ideas of how this can be done. And we're not going to be able to share all of them with you, but we do want to give you a sneak peek into at least one big concept of that. And that is the Seedtime suite. See, we realized as we started thinking about all of the different things that we could build that could make gardening and farming easier for you, we realized that it's really not just an app. It's like a suite of interconnected apps that work together in a way, right? So here is like I said, I want to preface this with this. This is very raw. This is not necessarily exactly what's going to happen, but this is kind of the direction that we're going. And what we would like to do, this is our vision planning, right? So don't take this as set in stone.
It's not a promise, but
it's not a promise, but like I said, it is something to kind of get excited about.
We're just letting you into our minds to know where we're thinking.
Yeah. So what if Seedtime was not just a gardening calendar with a journal, but what if Seedtime was a suite of tools that all worked and interconnected together? So for example, obviously we would have Seedtime Calendar, which is the calendar planning platform. Which is, we have the inception of it right now, the very baby version, right? That's going to grow and it's going to expand and it's going to be way better than it is, right? But then next up to that is you have Seedtime Layout. And the truth is Seedtime Layout is almost like, it could be, it's an app in itself almost. Yeah. But in fact, when you're planning your layout, you're going to have to go to it's like a whole nother module of Seedtime. But it's going to seamlessly integrate with the calendar, right? So you'll be able to see where your plants are planted out, but you can also span across a timeline, and in your visual layout, it will automatically change based on when the crops are taking up space in your garden, right? So they're so intricately connected, but they're two separate modules that you work on kind of at different stages of your garden plan. And I mean, they'll be connected, so you'll be able to see, glimpses of both, and they'll work seamlessly together. But
so it's like a third dimension.
Yeah.
The calendar, we have the crops and the timing of what's happening with them, but this is the space.
Yeah.
But we want it all to be seamless, so that the timing, the crops, and the timing and the space are all. Working together so that you can get the whole picture easily.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So, and then next to Seedtime Layout is you have Seedtime Journal. And here's the thing, there are journal apps that's all they do is it's a journal, right? So we want to make a journal that is so powerful and yet so simple that it's like a journal app that you would get separately, but it's seamlessly tied into the calendar and to the layout and everything, right? So you can go over to the journal section and you can sort and look through all your journal entries and write journal entries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or you can come back over to the calendar and you can turn on and off and see where your journal entries are throughout the year. You can make quick journal entries, straight into the calendar, stuff like that. So they're seamlessly integrated together, but they have their own robust functionality, right?
So I see somebody's saying, please make sure it's single sign-on.
Yes. Yeah.
You're not signing up, into the calendar and then separately signing into the layout and then separately signing into the journal.
Yeah, that's correct. And by the way, thanks for your patience right now. As like I said, we are in our inception baby stages, and that's how it is right now, right? With Born to Grow, and then with Seedtime, there's separate sign-ons and stuff like that. Yeah. We are going to be transitioning all of that into a single sign-on as fast and as best as we can. So then, Seedtime Journal. The next one up here is something that we had not even thought about, but it was like one of the second most featured requests on our feature board right now, I believe, right? And that is to create something along the lines of a Seedtime seed box or a seed vault, or basically a way that you can organize your seeds that you have. So when you purchase seeds, you can organize them and you can easily know what seeds you have available.
Keep an inventory.
Yeah, keep an inventory. Exactly. It could be Seedtime inventory. We don't know the exact name, but it's going to be basically its own little section of the whole Seedtime suite is your inventory of seeds, and you'll be able to update that and use it, etc. Right? So you have Seedtime seed box. Next,
John's suggesting Seedtime procurement.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll touch on that in just a second.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So Wendy's not a physical box. It's a inventory basically of the seeds that you currently physically have, right? So a numbering, you'd be able to
just a way to track your inventory.
A way to track your inventory.
Keep updated when, so that you know if you have seeds on hand or if you have to buy, order more.
Yep, exactly. And then next up to that is Seedtime Weather. And I know all of you know of weather apps that are totally individual, right? But what if you had a weather app that was geared towards agriculture and gardening, right? So this is not just, well, first of all, it will be like a standalone weather part of the app where you can just go there and it will be similar to other weather apps that you see with weather forecasting right into the future, but you'll be able to see historical weather data and it will be tied, pulling up the most relevant information specific to agriculture. And it would be cool to make it even customizable so you could choose what information you had on the weather dashboard, right? But then you could go over to the calendar and on each day, it's going to have the weather information and weather history and all of that kind of stuff as well, right? So you'd be able to pull all of that together. And then another big one is Seedtime records. We'd like to make an entire section of Seedtime where you can keep records. So this is going, and again, these records are going to tie, we'd like to make them tie directly into the calendar. So when you harvest a crop, when you check it off on your checklist, there could easily be just a little pop down that says, how much did you harvest? And you can input it there and it automatically go into your records for that crop variety into your Seedtime records, right? Yeah. Or you could go over to the Seedtime records and you could pull up all of the lists and it would be more like a spreadsheet type environment in Seedtime records. And there would be analytics there. So you could take those records and you could run all kinds of analytics off of them as well. Yep. So yeah, Rob, how many seeds, germination rates, harvest amounts, we'd love to make the records extremely flexible where you can input any custom records that you want to keep track of as well, right? Yeah. Yeah,
I think most of the way through on this app, we want to set it up so that, the primary functions that most people, there's common records that almost everyone wants to keep. We would like to have those set up so that it's pretty much plug and play. But we also would like to build it so that there is ability for you to customize.
Yes.
On, whether it's records or whether you're looking for, or, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Retha says, I would love for it to email or text me with frost warnings and such. Absolutely. Yeah. So we're planning to have customizable warnings. Some people want to know about a frost warning, but some people want to know when it's just going to drop below 50 degrees. So what if you had customizable weather alerts where you could say, I want to be alerted when it drops, down lower than 50 degrees or any custom temperature.
Yeah, freeze or frost warnings was actually what, got us onto the weather idea, but then we realized, well, there's a lot more there.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely. And people are wondering, will it be able to be printed? Absolutely. We even on the Kickstarter, we promised being able to print the calendar, and we'll make sure that you can print records and all of that kind of stuff. Absolutely. How many of you are farmers on here? Do we have any farmers on here? Any larger scale growers? Coming up next, as we have some ideas for farming, right? And for small farming, because we come from a farming background, actually. Small scale, organic, family farm, growing 40 to 70 different varieties of vegetables, herbs, and berries, doing CSAs, farmers markets, all of that, right? So smart farming is in our blood, I guess you could say. So we come at making gardening easy from our farming experience. But then when we're building out Seedtime, we're like, hey, there's a lot that this can do for farmers, right? So we'd like to build it up for small farmers. So some ideas that we have for the small farm segment. Some of you even supported us at the small farm level, right? So some ideas that we have for that is, for example, Seedtime Harvest. So that would be creating harvest lists, pick and pack lists, right? For specific, like if you're going to farmer's market, you can make a specific pick and pack list for farmer's market. Harvesting for CSAs, anything like that, a way that you could organize and make that extremely simple for your harvests. Yep. And then Seedtime Market. What if you had a way that you had an online market store where people could purchase your food directly from you online, and it was tied and synced with everything else, the entire Seedtime suite, right? So it was synced with your records, it was synced with your calendar. We were just talking the other day, what if, since you already have your garden plan in there with the calendar and everything, what if when a certain crop is scheduled to be ready for harvest based on your calendar plan, it could even give you a suggestion and say, hey, you have 150 heads of broccoli that are coming up ready to harvest. Would you like would you like to add them to your market store? And those suggestions could be automatic without you having to manually go in and add broccoli to your market store, etc. You just approve the suggestion or edit it and drop it into your market store. So there's all kinds of ideas like this that are just flying through our heads that would be super, super cool. This would tie into your harvest list, right? So people purchase on your market, and it could automatically make pick and pack harvest lists based off of your purchases, right? Absolutely. Then we have the idea of possibly doing Seedtime CSA. Once again, these are conceptual ideas right now. We're not sure exactly if we'll get to Seedtime CSA or if that will be high enough on the wanted list. Remember, we're wanting to build this based on what you want, right? So, but CSA management is a huge thing. And what if you had an easy way to, listen, you tie your CSA with the calendar, and we were just, Dad, you were just talking about this the other day, where you can say, I want this X list of vegetables in a box on this week of the year.
Yeah, for each week of the year, you could say, I want this and this and this and this in the box that I'm delivering. I want to be harvesting these certain items. And then you can, plan your calendar, set your calendar from what you want to be getting at a certain time. It'll work backwards.
Yeah.
And I think that would be great. I wished I could have something like that when I was doing the CSA.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And the CSA could be tied to the market. So your CSA customers could actually be linked into the market and they could purchase extras, or you could make the CSA boxes customizable, through the market, etc. There's a lot of options that could go into. This
is something that you can really even do with the calendar as it is now. You could plan what you want for Thanksgiving and grow it all and have it ready to harvest at Thanksgiving.
Yep. And then the next up is the potential of having a suite called Seedtime Customers, where it would be your customer hub. You'd be able to interact with your customers, message them, give them updates, etc. So this would be super, super, super exciting and super great. And on top of all of these things, one of the big things that we would like to do is create a Seedtime store. And that would be an easy way for you to be able to, within the app, purchase. Someone was talking about procuring seeds. You'd be able to purchase seeds, purchase your amendments and everything right in the app, instead of having to go out to all of these other, third-party stores, etc. Just streamline the whole process as much as possible. And we have some super secret, super amazing ideas that could really revolutionize and, in a way, could kind of disrupt the industry when it comes to, for example, like seed sales and purchasing amendments and stuff like that, that could save you some money potentially in the end. So we've got ideas. We can't share them all with you right now, but this gives you a little glimpse peek into our big picture. I know some of you, I was just reading one of the comments. Some of you were saying, this is awesome. I could see a lot of you are excited, but you're also wondering, what's the roadmap? What's the process of getting there?
Right.
One of you had a very good point. It's best to nail some smaller features than to just throw out and get a big, large, a larger set that don't work as well together, right? So we are definitely keeping all of that in mind but we wanted to say, okay, we want to be able to keep a big picture in mind so that as we narrow down and build our roadmap, we're going to take it one step at a time, right? But we want to be able to have a vision of where we are potentially going.
Yeah, this is casting a very big vision, but we are not going to try to do it all at once. I think the order in which Paul has presented it here very roughly is kind of an order of priority for us.
Yes. So first priority is to get Seedtime calendar really working solidly. So by the way, this right here is a roadmap that could take several years. This is not necessarily something that's going to happen overnight, right?
Please don't think that you'll get this in your hands in the next 2 or 3 months.
So Seedtime calendar, this is our foundational layer right here, right? So we're going to be highly working on streamlining and making this the best it can possibly be. Journal is coming actually pretty soon with the calendar. So those two are going to be like our main focus starting out, most likely. I know for sure because those are what we're actually building right now. And then we're going to be working through with our development team. We're going to be taking all of these and going through a very, very intensive and very in-depth, it's called an inception process, where we take all of these and we look at the risks and the challenges that are going to be faced with each one. We're going to be looking at our customers, who are the customers that we're serving right now, and who are we going to focus on, and prioritizing out these based on things like this. These are must-haves. We have to have this. These are should have, could have this, it could be involved, or they're just wants that we want to include, but it's going to happen sometime. We're going to be prioritizing all of those and working on a roadmap that will guide us into which stage each one of these is going to fall into. All right. Just see a couple questions. So by the way, Wendy, weather probably will come up sooner. This isn't in the exact order that they're going to be created. Melissa, can you explain more about how the journal and records are different? I feel like they have potential to overlap a lot. That's a good question. So the difference with journal and records is especially more for those people who are into data and analytics. So if you're wanting to track harvest records and stuff like that, a journal entry is just a text box where you could write down your record information. You could write down, I harvested 10 pounds of potatoes, right? But it doesn't go into a spreadsheet format where you could then compare that this year you harvested 10 pounds, last year you harvested 5 pounds, and the year before that you harvested 30 pounds, etc. And you have it in an analytical form. So that's the difference between records and journal in a very simple condensed version. There is some similarities, but it's a little bit different use case. All right. Okay. So let's transition now to a walkthrough training of how to use Seedtime to plan your garden. And I know many of you have questions, I'm sure. Feel free to I want to go ahead and do this. I think, well, let me get your opinion, Dad. I think maybe we should do the walkthrough right now. And then after the walkthrough, open up for question and answers.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we can answer more questions
some
about
of the questions with the walkthrough.
Yeah, I'm sure you all are filled with questions, right? So let's jump in and do a Seedtime walkthrough. And here's what we're going to do. We are going to use our plug and play garden plan as an example for building out our calendar plan in Seedtime. How does that sound? Sound good? Exciting? Okay. So let's just a second here. Let me pull up. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share my full screen. And going to pull up the app here. Okay, so hold on. It's going to look really crazy for a second, and then it will get better. Here we go. Okay, so we are in the Seedtime app here. So when you are first signing in, we're going to start this off just as if you were an absolutely brand new user, because I know we have some people here who haven't jumped in and started using Seedtime yet. So if you're a new user, you're going to land on this page. This is the settings for your calendar. We're going to be streamlining this and making it a lot better. In fact, just recently, the Weather Data Service released new frost dates averages through 2020. So we'll be able to use that data and automate the process of finding your first and last frost dates, at least for the US. And as we work with developers, we're going to be looking at automating it for the world. It's going to take a little bit more to do that. But you're going to land here. It's going to say, see instructions on how to find and set your frost dates. You want to click on that, and it will actually guide you through the process of finding your first and last frost dates, right? So you will want to look up, if you are in the US, we suggest going over to Dave's Garden frost date lookup right here. If you're international, there's a website called Plant Maps that has international frost date maps, so you can use those as well. So what you'll do is you'll open up, enter ours in here, and then we suggest using, and I believe that I used, it will pull up several weather data stations, and we suggest finding basically the closest one to you, the closest city or town that's closest to your location.
Yeah, the one that probably most matches where you are.
Yeah. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going into the details of the frost dates and understanding them. It is detailed out in this this document here, so you can read through it and go through it and find those. But for example, you're going to find the average last frost date in the spring and average first frost date in the fall based on your location. And we suggest a 30% probability. That gives you a little extra buffer space there. So that's what we suggest at the moment. So for us, that was April 18 and October 13. And then you're going to do the same thing for the hard frost, which is when the temperatures drop to 24 degrees or below, right? So it's on that same table. It's just a couple lines down. And for us, it's March 27 and November 8. So back here, I already put those in. April 18, October 13, March 27. This is actually November 8. I'll update those frost dates, and it will say frost dates have set successfully. The next step is to click on the calendar link in the top left-hand side of the calendar after you set your frost dates. I know it would probably be better to automatically redirect this back to the calendar, but we do not have that set up yet. So you'll jump over to your calendar, and you'll be able to start on your calendar. So I'm just checking the chat to make sure everything is going smoothly. And yes, Ellie, this video will be available later. So you can look forward to that. All right, so here is the calendar, and this is in what we call our year view. It just shows your whole year at a glance. You have months going down the side, January, February, March, April, and then you have your days of the week going across the top. And the month itself, you know, January 1 starts on a Friday, and so it goes across like this. You'll notice these blue bars. The blue bars are your frost dates that you just inputted right now. So you can very easily visually see when you can expect frost in your area. You can turn them on and off. We call them an average frost zone or hard frost zone. You can turn off the hard frost zone and only look at the average frost zone if you wanted to. You can turn both of them off if you want to. So it's totally up to you which ones you want to see. Quick overview of the screen here. You have on the top here, there is a place where you can choose when you want your starting date to be for viewing your calendar, right? So you can actually go back to dates in 2020, or you can move forward to dates in 2021. So let's just say I wanted to, we're in May right now. So let's just say I wanted to start it in May. I can switch it to May and it will start the calendar in May. You can also choose whether you want to see 12 months at a time, 18 months at a time, or 24 months at the time. And that works in both the yearly view there and the timeline view over here. A timeline view, I'll show you a little bit more about it in a second, but basically it just puts your entire timeline on a linear scale. So you have the months going across the top, May, June, July, and the weeks in those months going across the top, and your crop plans will drop in down below here. By the way, I want to also make note here that up at the top right, there is a link to our knowledge base. So if you click that, it will come over, and there are a bunch of articles on using the calendar here. So you can talks about the frost toggles, adding crops to your calendar, editing planting schedules, etc., etc. So definitely encourage you to check out the knowledge base there. On the left-hand side here is where you'll add crops, right? So I'm going to move this back to January for right now, just to give a little context. And we're going to look at our crop plan here. So number one is we want to add some lettuce into our crop plan. Okay, so I'm going to click on the add crop button on the left-hand side here, and there's a drop down. You'll come down and you'll choose the crop you want to add. So I'm going to choose lettuce. And by the way, currently, this database is going to be built out much more in depth. We're going to have specific varieties in here, flowers, all kinds of other crops as well. But right now you can choose from any of the crops that are here, or you can create a new crop up at the very top here. It says new crop, and you can create a custom crop from scratch. But right now we're going to use lettuce, right? And it will pre-fill each of these crops with suggested times to grow it based on your location set relative to your frost dates, right? So let's put in, optionally, you can put in a variety name for your lettuce if you want to track that it's a specific variety. So what do you want? What's a good variety of lettuce that we should put in?
Let's do Jericho.
Jericho? Ah, I already have it here. So we'll do Jericho romaine, okay? Next is the seeding date. It will automatically be set relative to frost, just to give you an easy way to automatically have a suggested planting time. Or you can switch to set it manually, and you can jump forward or backward and set your seeding date manually. We're going to leave it on the automatic for this example here. You can choose whether you're going to direct seed or transplant that crop into your garden. By the way, if you change it to direct seed right now, it doesn't necessarily change the suggested seeding time. So the suggested seeding time may be a little bit off if you change it between direct seeding and transplanting. But that is an option that you can to direct seed, especially if you're adding custom crops. This is very handy. If you're transplanting it, you'll be able to put in how many weeks are between seeding and transplanting. Like when you seed it inside, how many weeks do you wait before you transplant it out into the garden? So the default for this is 4. Days to maturity, are those days to maturity from transplanting or are they from seeding, right? We have a default in here, but on your seed packet or from the seed company, they should give you information on days to maturity, and you can edit that and change it. So maybe it's a 60-day lettuce. We can put it as a 60-day lettuce, right? I'm just going to leave it as a 50-day. You can edit your harvest window length in weeks. How long do you expect to be harvesting this? If it's a head lettuce, we generally give it 2 weeks. And
it might be less than that in the summer.
Yeah. There's a section here called Harvest Extends until the end of the season. This is an example, and if you click on that, it just takes away the harvest window length. And this is particularly for crops like an indeterminate tomato that continually produces all the way until the frost, if you're growing it in the summer. We'll show you an example of that in a minute. Then you have suggested succession spacing in weeks. For lettuce, we suggest every 2 weeks if you're growing head lettuce and harvesting full heads. And
so, I mean, generally, your harvest window and your suggested succession spacing are going to be similar.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Then frost kill temperature, this is optional, and frankly, you can just ignore it right now unless you know that information and want to put it in. You can choose whether it's a cool or warm season crop. The default will be correct for the crops that are in there right now, so I wouldn't change that necessarily. This is especially if this is important though if you're putting in a custom crop and it affects if the harvest extends to the end of the season. If it's a cool or warm season crop. And then you can change the color. So you can, we'll have a default color here, or you can change that. So if you hit save, it will drop that planting schedule into your calendar and tell you when to seed it, when to prepare your bed, when to transplant it. We have some cultivation reminders and also when you can expect to harvest it. Now you will notice, so this is the yearly view, right? So it drops into the yearly view. You can also switch to the timeline view, and it will show your lettuce planting schedule in a timeline being seeded back here in February. If you hover over any of the tasks, it will pop up a little tooltip that will tell you what that task is. And we have talks about making little abbreviations for them to make it easier to see. I'm just going to check the chat again, make sure everything is running smoothly. All right, looks like it's going okay. So now you have entered lettuce, right? Now you may notice that at this time we are, by the way, the yellow bar is today. This is the week that we're on right now. So if we wanted to actually plant lettuce right now, it's late enough in the season that we would probably need to transplant it. Unless, let's see, if we move seeding up, that pushes it to harvesting out in July. That's pushing it a little bit much for our location. We are planning with the calendar to have it where if you click and drag to move a planting schedule, it will automatically show you the suggested seasonal time to grow that based on your location and the temperatures in your location, etc. So we don't have that set up yet. So you do still have to know a little bit more information to know how far you can push cool crops into the summer, etc. But that is coming. So
yeah, that's going to be a guide. But you know, the more you get into gardening or farming, the more you realize you can push those boundaries. And so we don't want to discourage people from doing that. You can't override that, but it is going to let you know what's the normal, window that it can grow best in. Yeah. Without the extra interventions.
Yeah. Over on the left-hand side here will be your list of crops that you just put in. And by the way, if you click on them, it will turn them on or off in the calendar, so you can easily filter them. But then you'll notice there's several little buttons here. The middle one is a plus sign, and that will add a succession planting of the crop you just planted, or that you just added to the calendar. So you can click the little plus, and it will add a succession planting based on the suggested succession spacing that was tied to that crop when you added it in, right? So in this case, it added it 2 weeks later to a succession, so you'd have 2 harvests. Now, we do have a little glitch here. Going to be fixed very soon. In the timeline view, it's showing the harvest is 3 weeks when it should be 2 weeks. It's a simple little glitch. We'll have fixed very soon. Sorry about that. We will have that fixed soon. With these little icons, very quickly, the little link icon, you can link planting schedules together within a crop category, like this is lettuce. And if you do that, you can actually move them together in the calendar. So that's what those little links are for. Otherwise, you can turn them off.
So you might find that handy if you planned to seed on a certain week, but maybe you had a very adverse weather event or something happened that prevented you from doing that, and you want to move your first planting, but then that's going to make all the rest off too. So you can link them and move the whole bunch by moving one.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to show you one more thing, and then we're going to add a bunch more crops in here, and then I'll show you a bit more of the other functionality that can go. Right, so the little drop-down menu on a specific planting schedule has a settings or a delete. So you can delete a planting schedule, or you can go to settings and you can edit it. You can reset the seeding date. You can change it, to a direct seeding if you wanted to. You can change all of these things. You can change the suggested succession spacing, et cetera, et cetera. So all of that is editable.
So it's basically taking you back to that first page when you were setting up the
Right.
planting.
Exactly. Okay, so one more thing to note, actually, before I add a bunch more crops in here. You may have noticed that each of these tasks is a week long. We did that because the first calendars that we built were not very customizable, and we wanted to give people a week long to get each task accomplished. Gardening is something that is flexible. Sometimes it rains one day and you can't transplant because of the rain, or something happens, right?
Life happens, and things that you intended to do don't get done.
So we found it was simplest to allow people a week timeline to get a certain task done. Now, we recognize we have quite a few users, many of you, that would like to be able to set specific dates, right? And say, I want to seed it on a specific date, or it was seeded on a specific date, etc. We will be building out that functionality, but for right now, it is based on a week by week, right? So you can move planting schedules in all of the views. You just have to move it by week by week. So if you take this, you're going to have to move an entire week over for it to actually move that planting schedule over. Does that make sense? Or you can move it an entire week back, and it will move it back that week. You can move them anywhere in the year. It is flexible, but it is week by week, and you have to move them in that way. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add a bunch of other crops here. Let's just do these top 2 sections, okay? So let's add cabbage. We're just going to do this quickly. We're going to add cabbage. And I'm just going to put in the defaults right now for each of them. We're going to add broccoli. We're going to add kale. So this is what I would do if I was planning my garden, except I might pay a little bit more attention to each one, put in the specific variety, make sure the days to maturity was correct, etc. Right? So we'll put those in. Kale, chard. I think we have that under Swiss chard. Yeah, Swiss chard. Put Swiss chard in. Squash, peppers, cucumbers. So this is getting into summer crops, right? So we have squash here. We have peppers. You'll notice here, peppers, it has this clicked on it. Harvest extends until the end of the season. We'll show you how that works in just a second. But that's real key because peppers continue to produce throughout the whole season, right? We have cucumbers. Once we get a bunch of these in here, I'll show you a little bit more about how some of the other functionalities work. Tomatoes and potatoes. I'm going to put indeterminate tomatoes in. And we're going to also add potatoes. Okay, so we have a bunch of other crops in here now. You can see our plan is filled out a bit more. And if you switch over to the timeline view, you can see them all lined up on top of each other. And this is a great way, by the way, to plan when you want to be harvesting different crops. You'll notice harvest extends to the end of the season. It will automatically extend until the frost date. Like I said, we have that little glitch where it's going 1 extra week. We will get that fixed very soon. But if you move that planting schedule later in the year, it will automatically shorten the harvest time to only go until the end of the season. So that's how that harvest goes until the end of the season works. The harvest going until the end of the season in the spring for a cool weather crop, for example, kale is also one of those. Harvest goes until the end of the season, except it's set as a cool weather crop. And right now it's set to go like 8 weeks or 6, 7, or 8 weeks. I forget exactly after your average last frost date. That's a very generalized thing. So we will be making that a lot better. It's just a simple way to do it right now. All right. So you'll notice on the bottom left, there is a task filter. Once you have your crops inputted, you can, there are different tasks like seeding, preparing your bed, transplanting, cultivating, harvesting, and you can turn them on or off in your calendar. So if you want to turn cultivating off, you can turn that off. Cultivating basically is a reminder to just stir the top of the soil, get any little weeds that might be germinating, knock them out. Or if you are mulching your soil, which is really excellent. We're doing a bunch of that right now. It would be, again, just to go through, see if there's any weeds that need to be pulled. Basically, it's tending to your crop. And we just throw them in as little reminders. You can turn transplanting on and off. Like, for example, if you want to just see when things are going to be seeded, you can go back to the yearly view and see, okay, these are the times that my different crops are going to be seeded. Or you can go and see just the times that crops are going to be harvested. This is, for example, really excellent if you know, for example, that, let's look at the harvesting, right? Harvesting cucumbers. Let's say you have a vacation planned at the end of June. Well, you can just move that over and make the harvesting time in July, and it will automatically update the seeding time and update your planting schedule in that way, right? So I'm just going to turn a few of those tasks back on, and you can close and open the task filter here. Now, some of you may be wondering, what are these different tasks? What does it mean by seeding, bed preparation, transplanting, etc.? So seeding, the cool thing is that you can click on any of these tasks and it will pop up a window and will tell you exactly what to do and how to do it for that task. So there's specific crop recommendations, and it will link out to some of our favorite varieties. So even right now, you can just click on any of these. It will open in a new window and take you to one of our favorite seed companies, and you can purchase one of our favorite varieties to grow, right? And grow it yourself. There are seeding recommendations, and then it will tell you what to do and how to do it. Seeding, as opposed to direct seeding, is when you seed crops inside and then transplant them out later. Direct seeding is if you seed them directly into the garden. And then this will, like I said, show you how to seed your own crops. We have a link out to our tried and true potting mix recipe that you can make up for yourself And it links out to other training videos, direct seeding by hand, how to make soil blocks, seeding your starts, transplanting successfully. So you have all of these tools right at your fingertips with every single task. Bed preparation is the exact same thing. It will tell you what to do to prepare your bed, how to prepare your bed, and demonstrations, visual demonstrations on how to prepare your bed. Transplanting, again, we have a quick reference guide on how far apart to transplant your plants for that specific crop. This is for most of the crops. There are a few crops in here where we don't have all of the information built in yet, but we will be building it in for all of the crops.
Yeah, we want to have a crop database that has this information plus quite a bit more.
Exactly. So again, how to do it, how to transplant successfully, and there's a video that you can jump over and watch on how to transplant successfully, harvesting, etc. So if you have any questions about any of the tasks, just click on them, open it up, read through the task, and it will tell you more information about it. All right. So with our plan here, we now have, lettuce down through potatoes, but you may notice that a lot of these are seeded way before our time, right? So we're going to change some of these because it's a little late for us to actually be planting broccoli or cabbage right now, right? So if I was planning this out for my own garden, what I would do is I would say, okay, broccoli, that's a little late actually. So I'm going to change it relative. I'm going to still keep it relative to the frost. So I'll keep the suggested timing, but I'm going to change it to a fall winter planting schedule and save that in here. And it will just move that whole planting schedule down to the fall winter at a suggested time for your location. So I will do that with the cabbage as well. Again, relative to frost, but change it to a fall winter schedule, right? Cucumbers are a summer crop, right? So I can still grow those. So I'm going to move it down, and maybe I'll put the seeding out for next week because, I'm really busy this week and I'm not going to really get it done this week. So I'll just bump the seeding out to next week. Kale, again, it's a little bit late to start now. So I'm going to, by the way, if you've moved it, it's going to change this to set manually. So you just change it back to set relative to the frost. And I'm going to make it a fall winter planting schedule and bump that over. So now I'll be planting my kale in the fall. Lettuce, here's a neat use example here with lettuce. Let's say that you are able to go to a local nursery and buy a transplant. You could then line up the transplanting date for your current date and transplant that lettuce into your garden, even if you can't seed it yet, right? But you can also come and say, lettuce, I want to add some fall plantings of lettuce into my garden too. So I'll change this to fall winter and add that in. And then I'm going to add a couple succession plantings of lettuce in the fall winter, right? So those will add succession plantings in for the fall. Harvest peppers. Let's take a look here. If I seeded peppers right now this week, would I still get a harvest? Is the question. And yes, we would. So that's great. So I'll make sure to seed my peppers really quick here. Potatoes, I'm going to move that down, and I'm going to be, let's just plan to direct seed my potatoes a couple weeks from today. Squash, I'll do next week. These are more flexible because they have the whole summer period to grow them, right? Swiss chard, it's a spring crop. It's a little bit late to do Swiss chard. So I'm going to move that one to the fall winter as well. And then we have tomatoes. And what happens if we seed tomatoes right now, at least for this one? Sorry, it's a little bit on the bottom of the screen there, but we would still be able to harvest tomatoes. So,
but if you could buy a transplant, you'd be way ahead. You could see,
yeah,
weeks ahead.
So this is how you can add these crops into your calendar and then line and figure out what you should be seeding now and which ones you should move into the fall. We're going to make that all a lot easier, like I said, by having the automated times show up. When you start moving a planting schedule, it'll automatically show you the suggested time in the year to be growing that crop etc. All right, one more thing that is very useful is this little search filter box on the top left of the calendar. If you type in any crop, let's just say I'm going to type in lettuce, you just have to start typing it in, L-E-T, and it will filter the calendar down to that crop. And you can type in multiple things. So you can type in lettuce and broccoli and look at those two tied together. And then you can move or plan your plan based on those two different types. Or you can type in kale, right? And look at kale. Or you can type in the specific variety. It will find anything within the planting schedule. So you can type in Jericho and it will pull up the specific Jericho varieties of lettuce right there. Very good. One more little tip on creating succession plantings here. With succession plantings, it's going to, if you, on the left-hand side here, you'll notice I have lettuce 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If I click the little plus button on lettuce number 4, it's going to set that in as 2 weeks after lettuce number 4, which means it will end up going in at the same time as lettuce number 5. This gets some people confused, and we'll be simplifying this process as well, but this is just the way that it's set up currently. So if that happens, you can easily just move that planting over, or the key for successfully doing succession plantings is always click on the plus button that is at the end of the list, and it will add a succession planting after those crops. All right. Is there anything else, Dad, that you can think of that we should go over? Let me just jump back over. All right, let me go and let me share the calendar one more time with you guys, and I'm going to show you one more thing here, because someone was asking about printing out your calendar, etc. So what we're working on right now, as I mentioned at the beginning, is we're working on the week-by-week checklist. So every week, for example, with my plan now that I have set up in Seedtime, I would be preparing my bed for potatoes, seeding my peppers and tomatoes, and transplanting lettuce for this week. So you can go to the year view, and you can look at your week-by-week like this, or you can go to the month view, and it's going to show you for this week, this is what you can do. The easiest way, or the best current way to print it, probably would be in the month view. You can print directly from the browser. If you go under more settings, you can click on the background graphics and it will include the colors for you, or you can leave them off and it's kind of grayscale. It's really not set up to print yet. We will be building out that functionality soon, and we will be building out the functionality of a weekly checklist where you can literally just check a box when you finish a task and it will mark it as done. And in the calendar itself, it will either, I don't know, make it a little opaque or grayscale or something just to notify you that that task has already been accomplished or finished. So those are things that we are currently working on right now. All right. Now we have lots of questions. Whoa.
You know, I want to mention one thing. I've seen a number of comments here, and in the feedback, we've seen a lot of comments on people wanting help with companion planting.
Yeah. And
we are hearing that, and we're still trying to figure out exactly how to make that information available, but we do want to have that available. That when I said that we were wanting to make a crop database companion with a lot of extra things beyond what we have in there now, that's part of it. We want to have the suggested companion plants for each crop.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. All right, so we have about 15 minutes, and then we're going to need to sign off at the half hour here. So we're going to hit up as many questions as we can in the next 15 minutes, okay? Jessica is curious how we're going to prioritize these things. We already mentioned it a little bit, but basically, yes, the basic app will be done before we move on to like farming, market scale, etc. We're going to be taking sections at a time and making sure they work very well. All right. Kim, can we have a part of it for seed swapping? Kim, we have a lot of people asking about like social features and stuff like that, and seed swapping would be tied into that probably. So that's definitely an idea that we can consider. We
other people
don't have it in the plan, but
wanting to know if there's a way to connect with other people within their area or region. So yeah, we're hearing that. We haven't figured out, how that would look yet, but yeah, we're listening.
Michael, what's the current sense of when these different apps is hoped to be ready? So Seedtime this vision has grown quite a bit, right? And it's actually going to take even more financial investment to be able to build all of these out. So what we can tell you right now is that by the end of this summer, early fall, our roadmap goal is by the end of summer, early fall to have the basic calendar, Seedtime calendar and Seedtime journal, a beta version of both of those released. Beta means that there is full functionality in them and a good level of customizability with them, but we still want to test it, right? And of course, there's going to be more features that we add and stuff like that, but it's a much more complete than what you see right now. This is truly a very pilot program, very infant stage of the app.
Alpha testing.
Yeah, all alpha testing, basically. So we're going to move to the beta testing. Once we get that beta, we're going to be doing more advertising and more marketing. And as we roll in more funding, we'll be able to build out more development. It's just development is an expensive game process. Yep. All right, Wendy says, all right, now that we actually answered that about moving the weather up. Melissa, can you explain more about how to use the journal and records? Yeah, we talked about that. Task list coming back into the new calendar soon. That is the very next thing that we're working on right now. Ellie, will this video be sent for viewing later? Yes, absolutely. In fact, you can use the exact same link to watch the replay later. Steve, when will I be able to make multiple calendars, i.e. different gardening spaces and plan versus actual? Absolutely. That is going to be available in our beta product. So by end of summer, early fall, that's our goal, to have that finished out. It may come sooner than that, but that's our goal. Linnea, is this available for all Seedtime or just the highest lifetime level? That is something that we are working out. What's going to be available in basic, what's going to be available in unlimited plans. Lifetime is for unlimited plan, so you get everything except the farm version is for the farm plan, right? So, but everything else that we've listed there would come with a lifetime level. Yes, Peter, we will be adding Celsius temperature to the app, so you'll be able to switch between them.
Not just Celsius, we'll be adding metric measurements, like, recommended spacings and things like that. We want to make it all go both ways.
Yep. All right. Jessica, I'd add this to feedback. It's not really there, but I would love to access each crop settings from the calendar, like to right-click the edit setting versus needing to get to the crop list to do so. Hey, good suggestion, Jessica. So Jessica says, nothing that I planted is matching the calendar harvest dates, even the ones I added from seed packet data. That's understandable. That happens. So I just keep dragging everything over instead of editing the settings, since those are all planting specific anyway. Is that the suggested way? Good question. So what I would do what I would suggest is I would suggest actually editing the settings. You can just move it over. It's just you won't have that record for the next year, right? So what I would do, let me pull up the calendar here and show you. Let's say I have this lettuce here. And lettuce, my Jericho lettuce, it wasn't ready to harvest on the 30th. I would just go to the settings and I would change the days to maturity, and I would add 7 more days, right? And it's going to bump that harvest time out. Now, in this case, it bumped the seeding time back, and so I would move that harvest down. So I just make sure that my seeding still matched up and that my harvest time moved over. And that way I would have a record for next year. And next year we're going to make it, we're going to end up adding functionality where you'll be able to copy what you did this year into next year. And so, you'll be able to tailor those planting schedules and varieties to your location. And, what happened this year, it's a good likelihood it'll happen to you again next year. Was there a spot, Melissa, was there a spot to note in the crop if you are seeding in trays or in the ground? So good question, Melissa. Where are we here? Maybe I should just keep the calendar up. So in the calendar, anything that says seeding on it is seeding in trays. If it says, where's a direct seeded crop? I'll add one in here. Let's put in carrots. Carrots is a direct seeded crop. By the way, here is where you choose if you want to transplant or direct seed. If it's a direct seeded crop, it will actually say direct seed, and that would be direct seeded into the ground. So if you wanted to change a crop from transplanting to direct seed, you can take, for example, these cucumbers here and go to settings and change it to a direct seeded crop. Make sure your days to maturity are correct, and then save it, and it will change that planting schedule to be a direct seeded planting schedule like that. Michael, what's the likelihood that Seedtime would be able to read and log IoT sensor data? Do you know what IoT is?
No, I don't.
I'm not sure what IoT is, Michael, but we'd love to connect with you, and we might be able to build that out. We don't know.
I'm guessing that would be weather related.
Anna, is there a training video to help guide new users through how to use Seedtime Calendar? Right now, we have the best is the knowledge database, and then our training right here that we just did right now. But we will be building out training videos, etc. It's one of those interesting things where we're going to be building out a lot more functionality, so it's going to change very quickly. But I also recognize that we need to give you the tools that you have that are necessary to help you get you started with the pilot program anyways, right? So we will be doing more training videos, but this here will be available as well, so you can cut back and watch and go through the training, a section of it again. Custom tasks will come soon. Gail says, what are you mulching your soil with?
We're using compost in some beds, quite a few beds actually. We tried hay and mainly hay last year. We're trying compost this year. Hay wasn't bad, but we did notice a few more bug problems. So we're trying just putting compost on top of the ground as a mulch.
Yeah. Lucy says, can you print the calendar to have a hard copy? That will be coming. It's not here quite yet, but we will have that available. Will there be a way to group categories of what you're growing, i.e. veggies, herbs, and flowers? Good question, Wendy. And that's a good suggestion. We do not currently have that on our list. We are going to be able to, we're going to create a way that you can group by location. So you could probably use the same functionality to group by type. And maybe we should probably just take that and think about it and potentially blend those two.
Mm-hmm.
Because they may want to do it by location and by type. So yeah, that's a really good suggestion, Wendy. I like it. Good. Awesome, Jordan. Fantastic. Janet says, is there a task filter so you can see everything you need to do on a certain week? Yeah, good question, Janet. So the best way to do that right now is to go to the month view or the year view, and this will show you. So for this week, I have potatoes, seed my cucumbers, peppers, tomatoes, and transplant lettuce right here. So, and then next week it would be bed prep for the romaine, seeding squash, stale seed bed of potatoes, etc. So that is currently the best way, but we will be soon creating a way that you can just see a weekly checklist.
That's being worked on right now.
Yeah. Kim, we know about that glitch right now. Kim's talking about a glitch where you can't currently, there's a box here to edit the name of the crop, or the crop category basically is what it is. And right now, if you change it to say like broccoli Rob or something, it doesn't actually change it over here. So Kim, we recognize that glitch and we will be fixing that. Kathy, the individual crop information does not currently include optimal pH levels, but that may be something that as we build out the database may be included as well.
Yeah.
Melissa, will you be adding fruits, herbs, and other less common veggies? Absolutely. Yes. We talked about companion planting. Question about green cover crops. Will that be available?
Yes, we want to have that available.
Yep. All right. Trisha, how do I get to use this calendar? I missed it. Shoot us an email and we'll make sure you get your login information. When did you say beta might happen? Late summer, early fall is when we're looking at building it out for beta. Laureen, absolutely. Yeah, we're going to be focusing on building out the app. Right now, everyone is invited to the Facebook group, so please jump in there for social interaction at the moment. Monica, will you also be able to adjust time to harvest based on the time of year, i.e. 3 weeks for lettuce early spring, maybe down to 2 weeks in July? So Monica, you can currently do that manually. So you could come in here and you could say, okay, this July planting schedule, you can change the harvest time. You can change the harvest window, move it down to 1 week. And you can change the days to maturity. So you could move it down to like 45 or 40 days to maturity, right? And it will change the harvesting time. And we just, let's see what happened there.
You changed the first one.
Oh, I changed the first. Oh, I changed the first one. Whoops. Well, anyways, we'll move it back to the summer here and put it in July. So you can edit all of those things manually right now. Eventually, we will be working on automating those. Yeah. John, definitely feel free to shoot us an email. We'd be interested. All right. All right, friends. We will be including information on cover crops and all of that. Absolutely. Barbara, check the email for the Facebook group. It's called Seedtime VIP Facebook group. Otherwise, we are going to need to sign off for this evening. Hey, it's been really fun.
Enjoy sharing with you what we're thinking about working on.
Yeah, it's exciting. We're excited about it, and every time we jump on with you, it's exciting too. It's exciting to see your feedback. Please continue to give us feedback in the app. There's that feedback button on the right-hand side. Give us your feature requests, report any bugs. We are logging those. We're reading through every single one of them, and it definitely is impacting our roadmap and what we build out for the future. So thank you. We look forward to connecting with you all again. Have a wonderful evening. Until next time, we'll see you.
Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.